Welcome, everybody. Weight loss and sugar hour. One of the things is that getting that weight down, it's a seesaw battle for most of us. And we have two stellars there, Lori and Peter, who really lost quite a bit of weight. And Peter is the smoothie expert, and Lori is the soup expert. And we've done different things, different times, and they're kind enough to share some ideas there. I'll get Nurme to start off the meeting there, the session here. I just got back from the gym. I got up at 5 in the morning, fell back to sleep, finally got up, got to the gym, got there late and played bad squash. And always late for something. So glad everybody can join us today. Take it away, Nurme.
Yeah, so for this month's sugar hour, we decided to, look at you guys, look at the patients and see what has worked, what hasn't worked. And we've identified two interesting things here, soups and smoothies. And who better to teach than the ones that, have had a lot of success with soups and with smoothies. So what I'll do is I'll just pass it over to Peter and to Lori. Let them talk a little bit about their journey so far, talk about, what's worked for them, what insights they've found in their journey. And then we'll have a nice discussion on that. And I think just that sharing of information is going to be so crucial. So with that, start with Peter there. So Peter, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about, your journey so far with
okay. No
these?
problem. Yeah,
I
think that picture there tells everybody about my journey. Basically, I attributed most of my efforts to just becoming active and getting back to basic running. I stopped running for a while. I was never particularly, I'm probably the Dr. Curnew or the Greg of running. So what I did is I came to peace with myself and saying, I really don't care how fast I run. I just want to run. And it's what I do. So most days I go out and try to do my 8 kilometers. And I record it on my iWatch calendar, see if it's in the same 24 hours. But regardless, so it's actually, the fitness has kept me, has made everything possible and made everything work. I think a lot of people start off with diets, and at least I did over my many years, as something that'll work a miracle if I just eat something and let the food do the work. I've come to learn that we have to do the work. Somebody said losing weight is hard. I always say, being chubby or whatever, or ailing is also very hard. So you pick your heart. And that. So with the smoothies, I really rediscovered them with, I guess Mira took over and sometime about a year ago and became a smoothie diet. So I got into the smoothies as a way to follow that diet and participate. And what I've narrowed down to is right now I've focused basically on a breakfast smoothie, strictly because to me it's the foundation of the day. I'm going out to run. I want something for my stomach or body to work on. And I want to make it substantial enough that when I come back for my run or whatever, and it's still only 8 o'clock or 8 a.m., I'm not going to be eating anything else in the morning. I do that through basically when I make my smoothie, I make more than enough for one portion. I make about 12 ounces. I split that into about 8 and 4 ounces or whatever, and I put the I put the 8 ouncer away, and I basically have my 4 ounces go out and run. If I make it in the evenings, I'll have my 4 ounce. Well, again, I'll do the both and have the 4 ounces go and run. And when I come back, I have my 8 ounces, and I'm good. I do that by incorporating, and when I say I'm good, is that I'm no longer hungry. I do that a couple of ways. Number one, I cheat. I don't make the traditional smoothie that's like a McDonald's milkshake. My smoothie is definitely as thick as, if not thicker than, a Blizzard from the ice cream place, whatever it was. You can see I put a post there of the metal spoon standing up on its own. And I actually have gone slightly thicker. These days you can see that, I don't know if you can see this, but this is my portion. You can see that it's just not running out at all. So it's nice and thick. You can have it with a spoon or put a little more macadamia nut juice or milk and eat it through the straw. So that's one of the tricks that I do to make it that thick. Basically, I use frozen fruit. I fell in love with frozen fruit because it's always in perfect health. It's frozen at the peak of its prime, and it's portion controlled. I cut it up. If it's not cut up when I get it, I cut it up beforehand. I know I'm putting in pretty much exactly the same amount. I don't have to weigh every day. That being said, I will weigh my ingredients at least once every 2 weeks just to confirm I'm still in the same ballpark. Sometimes I do that to break a plateau, saying, did I sneak up on something? And yeah, so just to try and put my thoughts together. That's how I do this. But I think the other thing is knowing components. I found one of the things about dieting was all the information being thrown at you. And I don't know if you see it, you go, and then you go on the internet and there's information left, and there's information right, and people offer their advice and this sort of stuff. It's almost like being a novice on a golf course. You can't move for people offering suggestions. And what does all that mean? And I realized it takes time to discover what that means. So things like nutrients, things like portions, the portion, you go on a site and there's some wonderful sites out there to find the nutrients in it. Now, the nutrients in an apple, how big is that apple? Is that portion size? Is it whatever? And all that becomes important in the amount of determining something. This morning I came across it's called the purple smoothie, and all it had was 2 small plums, half a cup of blueberries, 1 cup of chard, half a cup of uncooked red beets, and half a cup of pomegranate. I looked at it, portion controlled. That thing was 136 calories, and I said, "Oh, that's pretty good because it's got the plums, got the blueberries, got the chard, the beets that give you something substantial." So I look at it, and then further, and it's got 97% of the day's requirement of sugar. I go, wow. So I sat here this morning going through the US government sites and got the nutrition in each one of them. It turned out that the plums, the 2 small plums, 9.7 grams and 6.8. Anyway, these ingredients added up to 38.5 grams. 63.5 grams, but the portion control was 24.5, which is 98% of a young woman's allowance, which is basically 25%, 25 grams. It's actually only 65% of a male of the same age allowance. A male is 35.7 grams per out of a 2,000 calorie diet. Then I look at myself, and I'm supposed to be on a 1,500 calorie diet or something for my age group, being age 76. So I mean, that's pretty much back to the 100%. So that's my point in all this long conversation is you got to watch what you put in there, and something something attractive like the plums and the blueberries and the pomegranate and the beets. I love beets. Basically, the amount of sugar in beets and the amount of things that'll impact your diet, just tremendous. So you really have to start to learn to understand your foods. I take a process flow control. I can't understand all the knowledge at the first, so I do things that I like and I don't like, and I discard and I adopt, and then I improve on. I have a Excel spreadsheet, and I don't know if that's which I posted to this Facebook site, but basically it shows my listing of foods and the various calories, and beneath it I have possible substitutes. So these days, instead of kale and arugula, I'm using bok choy. Bok choy is a very great breakfast food, quite inexpensive. I buy a bag at Costco for $4, and I think it lasts, even with a daily smoothie, it lasts me 2.5 weeks. It's easy to chop. Any of the stuff that's fresh that I buy, basically I like to chop myself before I work the blade. It's really tough sharpening those blender blades. And
You mentioned that in your smoothie there, how many calories is in your smoothie roughly?
my basic smoothie, basically in the last week or two, I've taken it up to 400 and some 450, but that's because I've added hemp. That's something new that I've done in the last 2 weeks. I noticed that's made me much more regular, and I used to be deathly afraid of calories, but I think I'm starting to learn there are good calories and bad calories, and that probably made up more by the nutrients and vitamins and stuff inside of it. But I think calories are bogey. People, I think if you, this is where people went wrong with, remember Diet Colas? Was the greatest thing since sliced bread because there were no calories in Diet Cola, and yet people still suffered. So yeah, but at the same time, I'm trying to evaluate and I'm trying to determine how do I judge the success of my smoothie. I've just taken my average smoothie from 300 calories and added the hemp to it. I've also now, in the past week, I've experimented with yogurt, which, even though I'm not gluten or not gluten allergic or whatever, don't have an allergy to it, just the smell of sour milk. I can't have sour cream. I can't have whatever, this sort of stuff. But I can have all sorts of other cheeses, whatever, and milk with my meal.
Wonderful. So why did you pick bok choy? Because bok choy is a very interesting food. It does have a fair bit of calcium in there too, and some micronutrients and stuff like that. So what made you pick bok choy?
I think in bok choy, if I can go back to my chart, there was one item that I liked. I don't have it here. I'll bring it up and I'll tell you. I think it's it's got something more. It's got either more fiber or protein than kale does. On my.
So one of the things that Peter's done, and so is Laurie, is paid conscientious about micronutrient content. I think first of all, I think calories do count. For most of us, a certain amount of calories to eat, then we die, and we can eat them up quickly or save them up over time. And part of the problem is that we know what we're supposed to do, we have trouble. So there's these programs called OPTIFAST, where you get these liquid calories, where people start to try to get to around 800 to 1600 calories a day. Different ways of measuring calorie intake that you need. You still need to lose weight. You have to, unfortunately, calorie deficits, and we don't want to do that. We want to do it in a smart way. So I like the fact that some people like smoothies. I kind of like soups and things of that nature as well. Well, Peter's looking that up there. Why don't we get Lori to tell us her journey a little bit?
For sure. The other thing that just wanted to bring attention to before we did that was this link. Sorry about that. This link right here, eat this much. So this is something that Peter, you were mentioning to me, I think when we talked on Wednesday, but here you can put in how many calories you want to eat and then how many meals, and it'll come up with.
And you also,
sort of
if you go back to, if you scroll back up, you can also pick the type of diet you want to be on, whether you want. And I found that more interesting because I'm not a big type of diet proponent, but you know, sometimes you just want the chicken or something or whatever. And this allows you to be on a certain type of diet, the Mediterranean diet, or let's say you want to be on a vegetarian, but you still want to taste the chicken. You can still get a menu that'll keep your calories in check.
Yeah. And it's nice because say there's a meal that you don't really want, like I don't want a vanilla protein shake for breakfast, you can always change it up and it'll find things that are in your calorie range.
Yeah, it's
something interesting to play around with.
What's the name of the website again?
It's called eatthismuch.com.
That's a great website.
It really is.
And I know that we were also looking into Super Sage. And I know Lori used Super Sage as well there.
Yeah, she does. That's who I got it from.
Perfect. Yeah. But they will kind of break down, if you're interested in micronutrients, things like of that nature, they'll help you figure out your micronutrients for the meals that you're eating. And well, I think we'll learn a little bit more about that with yourself, right, Lori?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any questions at all?
Does anybody else use smoothies in their diet very much at all or anything? My daughter and son love smoothies. I get have the tail end of what's left over a little taste every now and then.
Greg, it's Peter. I found that getting back to your question on why bok choy, it's got far less. It's got about a third of the sodium of kale.
Interesting.
Okay. You know, sodium is one of those foods that people love to hate and things that nature as well. I'm still paying more attention to. I'm trying to replace sodium with potassium, and my number one source of salt comes from bread, and I'm going to try to experiment on recipes that have less salt in their bread with more potassium. And I just got to eat less bread and stuff like that, and is that
bread is good. Bread is very good.
I know, that's the sad part, isn't it? It goes right to my brain receptor and say, give me more. Yeah. And
I'll usually make a smoothie, but maybe with not as much fruit, but adding a protein powder. And I think the protein powder, I don't have the number of calories but I'm sure it has more calories, and it's mainly a pea protein that's in it.
Yeah, no, it has more calories. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to stay away from supplements. I'm not a big proponent of how we adding these things directly now, because number one, I'm still trying to figure out what the efficiency is, of consumption of that or of health to you. So if you take 100 grams of protein, does your body use all 100? You know, how efficiently does it convert that? Also, the cost is terrific. I mean, I shop at Costco a lot, and I can buy, for instance, turmeric powder in the spice section for $4. It'll got it downstairs. It's enough to last a lifetime, and yet I can go to the health food side of it, and turmeric supplements up to $30. It just makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, is that benefit really there?
One of the things that's interesting is that for many of us is close to 2/3 of our calorie intake is processed food, and there's all sorts of strong marketing going around these days. And most of us, we're in a generation where about 70% of us are now struggling with their weight, and the supplements that we too tend to buy make us eat more. They're usually added sugar, added salt, other different areas. And Mother Nature knows a secret recipe, is that when we try to say we get the best out of supplements and stuff like that, we do ourselves a disservice or a service over time. And you're right, we pay a lot for them, but I'm not as convinced as Peter is. And I agree with Peter that real whole food is the best way to go. That's Mother Nature. And when we muck around with Mother Nature, I think we're hoping we can outperform Mother Nature. I'm not so sure we can. So that's my take on that right now. And if you're worried about building muscle, the best way to build muscle is exercise, unfortunately, and is activity, both resistance and aerobic activity. And I guess that's what I have to do more of. And probably, is protein. Does it matter if it's vegetable or plant-based? There's debates about that. There's a guy called Dr. Tanapowski at McMaster who's an expert in this area. He feels that whey and casein protein, which are cause more muscle mass, and that's more in dairy products. So if you want to throw some yogurt, Greek yogurt into your smoothie, that's fine too. I pay attention to calories a lot, and I just eat too much. And but I'm also trying to get my micronutrient content, so that's wonderful. Any thoughts from anybody else there?
I've got a quick question.
Please.
My wife and I just started making smoothies, and we're experimenting and all that. And like when we make them, we have like the mix or the vegetables. Like we put in kale, carrots. We also put in spinach, and but I was adding. I noticed there it was all brand buds in Peter's smoothie there. And do you have to go to the store and buy a protein mix, or can you stick with like stuff like the all brand buds and that?
Well, I found it as that was my attempt to get something for just being regular and having that fiber. It's a good source of fiber. I've settled on brand buds. I used to use what's the one with the vector, this sort of stuff. And but I'm wondering now, is that something I can delete, because I'm trying to use up my bag of hemp hearts, which actually taste pretty good and actually make the smoothie quite smooth.
Oh, okay.
So these are things that I go through all the time, decisions like that.
So just starting, like us just starting out, basically experimenting with everything.
I think that's the fun of it. And I don't know your proficiency on the computer, but if you can do a simple Excel type of thing, and I don't know if can you see my laptop? I can't see what I'm showing you. But
Yep.
Anyway, I've got my my smoothie broken down into my my foods and the fat and the cholesterol and the sodium, the carbohydrates and the protein. I'm actually working on another one. This just on the side that's going to be 39 columns long with all the vitamins, water soluble and fat soluble and macro nutrients and all that sort of stuff.
So if just to summarize a couple of things, there's a great video on vitamins, micronutrients. Let's hear Laurie's presentation. We'll come back to protein content. You're gonna hear a lot. Most of us are not protein deficient in North America, very few of us. In fact, we eat too much protein. So I'm gonna encourage you to experiment with real food and try to avoid too many supplements. your pocketbook will be rich and you'll probably be healthier too as well. Take it away,
Okay.
Lori.
Okie doke. So you're gonna send it over to me, Nirme?
Yes, for sure. If you want to, you can try to share your screen.
Yeah,
And that way you'll have control.
Yeah.
Or I can display it.
yeah. Let's try sharing the screen first.
Yeah. Go for it.
If technology chooses to cooperate today. Oh, okay. So you need me to actually. It's a really dumb question. Where do I find that?
If you look on the Zoom right in the middle there, it'll say share screen.
Oh God. Okay,
Yes.
too simple. Good Lord. Okay,
and then
so
you can-
here we go. And slideshow. Come on. Technology is wonderful when it chooses to cooperate.
Yeah, that's true.
Just coming up. Okay, so can you see the first slide?
We cannot. I don't think so.
I just see your face. You're
Yeah.
beautiful.
No.
You know what I do, Lori? I let Nirme run the technology.
Okay, so yeah, Nirme, take it away. You've got.
Alrighty, let me get it. Let me get going. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Does everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so so knowing that this was recorded, and I wanted to make sure I didn't saddle Dr. Curnew with an unexpected lawsuit, I'm not going to mention the name of the shakes. Dr. Curnew already did, but the point is to be clear, we're not disparaging the shakes. They are effective, but they're priced above what some people can afford, and they're also synthetic, highly processed with ingredients that I, for one, can't pronounce and frankly don't understand. So simply put, this is an alternative to consider. So next slide, please. Okay, so to begin with,
Just to put in perspective, OPTIFAST is a liquid replacement therapy that people go in weight loss programs. So what happens is you go for a number of weeks on, you basically have a few shakes a day or some forms of soups, and you calorie restrict yourself anywhere between 800 to 1600 calories a day. There's different preparations. The one in North America that has the largest market share is OPTIFAST, and that's done at the bariatric clinic and things of that nature as well. But I think we can do a better job with real whole food and unleash Mother Nature. And I think Peter showed you a branch of shakes. You can do that. Lori's going to show you with some soups as well. So take it away, Lori.
Okie doke. So, hi, my name's Lori, and I'm a foodaholic, and baby, I was born that way. Loosely translated, my nickname as a baby was Bacon Baby. So, you know, that should tell you something. I was a round-faced, cheeky cherub. When most kids learn to crawl, I learned to roll. So honestly, I can't remember a time when I wasn't fat, when I wasn't cruelly teased about it, and when I wasn't made to feel like I was just not good enough. You can probably tell from that picture, I hated getting my picture taken. So when the Ontario government announced that Hamilton had been designated as a center of excellence for weight loss surgery, I jumped at the chance to get it. Back then, yes, the surgery took all of 6 weeks. Overall, I lost 70% of my excess weight. While I expected to lose more, I was happy with my weight loss. For the first time ever, I could actually cross my legs with ease. I could shop in the normal size section, and I went from a size 24 to a size 10. I was no longer that fat kid. I finally felt good in my own skin and kept it off for 3 years. Next slide, Vanna. So then in 2012, disaster struck. My husband came down with shingles and I came down with a mystery illness. In the beginning, they thought that I had chickenpox because of my hubby's shingles. There's some connection with that. But could I have the chicken without the pox? Because I didn't have the characteristic bumps. All the specialists could tell me over and over again was what I didn't have, not what I did have. So that 6 months felt like a bad episode of House. Remember that series with Hugh Laurie The cantankerous, unconventional doc who always came up with the brilliant diagnosis in the 11th hour. Well, that was me. I waited 6 months for a diagnosis of vestibular neuritis, an inner ear balance issue. That 6 months left me depressed, unable to exercise, flat on my back, not able to move at all, with nothing but time on my hands. So I ate myself back to obese. The weight loss program was ill-equipped in those days to deal with me and only depressed me more. I was too embarrassed to advocate for the help I needed. Hell, I didn't even know what I needed. Eventually, my family doctor sent me to Dr. Curnew's General Hospital clinic. This was getting serious. I had something my family doctor described as comorbidities. Yikes, something else for me to worry about, as if I didn't have enough already. Next slide, please. So when I met Dr. Curnew in 2016 or so, I thought he was a well-intentioned, dedicated doctor, but honestly, I was not the most compliant patient. I would leave his office with the full intention of following through on all of his recommendations, but the motivation was already leaving my body by the time I got to my car. But over time, I learned more, I understood better, then lightning somehow penetrated that thick skull of mine. All of the experts were finally singing hallelujah because I finally got it. The only thing holding me back from reaching all of my goals was me. I can't tell you the exact moment that it happened. It likely wasn't in a doctor's exam room or emergency room or even a store dressing room. But somewhere, somehow, I made the split second decision. I was going to lose the weight, come hell or high water, and keep it off now and forever. Amen. Next slide, please. So about that time, Dr. Curnew's book came out in 2018. I snagged an early copy. I even got him to autograph it, and then I devoured it cover to cover. I made myself a binder of his recipes, and if you think I'm kidding, here's my binder. I added other healthy recipes as I came across them. I followed the meal plan, and surprise, 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 it worked. I lost 30 pounds. Like many, I gained a bit at the beginning of the pandemic, but lost it again and more because I stuck with it. I joined any of the groups that Dr. Curnew would let me, because now I know this time is different because I'm different. And frankly, I no longer diet. I'm all about the healthy lifestyle. I'm not perfect. I'm working on it. If I can't sustain it, it doesn't stand a chance of working for me. The missing link for me was that I still thought of myself as fat. In my head, I was still that fat little kid that everybody bullied and or laughed at. In plain language, in order to lose it off my butt, I had to first lose it in my head and see myself as skinny and healthy and happy, living the life I wanted. Next slide, please. So, why would we care about getting healthy? We're all here for our own reasons, all to do with health, but we don't always realize the extent to which our weight actually affects our health. So looking at the list, diabetes, yep, had that. Heart disease, 82% risk reduction. You're not going to get those odds on a lottery ticket. High blood pressure, yep, had that. Joint disease, yep, got that. GERD, yep, had that. Breathing problems, asthma, fatty liver, yep, had that. Polycystic ovaries, urinary incontinence, migraines, yep, have that with bells on. Depression, yep, had that. Gout, venous status, and most importantly, quality of life and life expectancy. Next slide, please. So maybe a long-winded, but this was all to prove a point. Did you hear the number of times that I said had in that list? It's a total of 5, and 2 more I'm working on, including migraines. By 2017, my neurologist had told me I had new daily persistent headaches from the 12 incident. When he retired, my second neurologist told me, no, you got migraines. So all I knew was they weren't new, but they lasted all day, every day. I have maybe 10 seconds in the day when I first wake up that I don't have a headache. The rest of the day, I'm dealing with how to manage it. And, then I go to sleep. So, knowing that all of the medications weren't completely helping, they were only dulling the pain. And I was on long-term disability, still am, facing multiple family crises all at the same time, and everyone looking to me for answers. So where could I turn for answers? So once again, weirdly, I chose to turn to food, but this time was a twist. Could food be the answers to my migraines? And as that previous list would tell you, the answer was yes, although I didn't have the list at the time. So, I thought maybe it was the additives, maybe it was some combination of something. And I stumbled across whole food, plant-based eating and thought, hey, Mikey, I'll try it. And you know what? I liked it. I'm not a full-on vegan. I'm what they call a flexitarian. I can take meat, fish, or leave it. I prefer to leave it. I did have fish last night as an example. I also eat dairy mainly for the calcium. I can't get the levels I need solely from a whole food plant-based diet for my bone density health. I've got to learn to like nut milks yet. I'm still working on that. I've learned so much from all of the Curnew clubs, as I call them. I've learned something from each and every one. And as you've probably figured out, I'm not a wallflower, and I speak up often, as Nirme and Dr. Curnew can tell you. And it's often come up that I love soup. So next page, please. So Dr. Curnew gave me a challenge to put my ladle where my mouth was. Give me a low-calorie soup I can offer to my patients that is all natural, meets most of the recommended daily allowance amounts, and is easy to make and tasty. I kind of think of myself as Rudolph to his Santa. Rudolph, won't you guide my sleigh today? So, Lori, won't you guide my soup today? Peter, not sure where that puts you on the an analogy. You're probably one of the other reindeer in there somewhere, or an elf in the sleigh. But anyways, so in order to make soup, we're doing this all natural, so no commercial products. So first we got to make the stock. And the best thing is it's actually economical because you're using kitchen scraps. So in our house, we shop on Tuesday. So Wednesday I prep, all the scraps go straight into a stock pot rather than the recycling bin. And Thursday is garbage day. So the stock mush goes straight out the door and, doesn't smell up the house. By the way, you can put your pens down because there's actually a PDF with the stock and soup recipes and a very long list of spices at the end to give you some ideas of spices you can maybe try. So it includes what the point of them is and suggestions on where you could use it. So, just somewhere to get you started. So for this batch, I used celery root. So looking from on the bottom, you can see the pictures. So the celery root, tips and leaves, leftover arugula. It was wilted and unappetizing for a salad, but great for soup. Cauliflower core and leaves, and half the head of cauliflower. Onions with their skin. Skins give a beautiful color to the soup, and green onions, roots and all. Carrots, I washed them, but I didn't peel them because all the nutrients are on the skin. And edamame husks. I bought the edamame frozen and shelled them, and the husk went straight into the stock. So by the time you do all this, the pot looks full. So that's picture number 4, sort of in the center of the page there. But believe it or not, using an 8 quart pot, 20 cups of water went into that pot. So then you bring it to a boil, simmer it for about 3 hours. The longer you simmer it, the more intense the flavor, but the smaller the yield. So it's a bit of a trade-off. You want to make sure that the vegetables are always covered in water. So if you have to, add a bit more water as you go. So then, turn off the stove, obviously, and place some cheesecloth in a large colander over a large bowl that will capture all of the water from the pot. So pour the whole mess out on the stock pot. And normally you would let it cool and then squeeze the bejeepers out of the cheesecloth to get out any water. But I've got a bit of arthritis in my hand. So what I do is I put a plate over the mush. So yeah, the mush is what I call the mush would be picture number 5. So in picture number 6, you can see that there's a plate. On top of the plate is a bowl. In the bowl is water and beans that I am soaking overnight. So just, because that's heavy, that pushes the mush down, and that gives you every last bit of gorgeous stock that you can get, and then leave it till the morning. So now then, next slide, please. Okay, so now we go to the soup, but a warning. There are a few different kinds of beans in this recipe. Don't soak all the beans in the same bowl of water because they don't cook at the same time. So, so you can have a couple of bowls with the various beans. So as an example, soybeans. If you don't want to wait overnight, or you haven't been able to arrange that, soybeans you want to soak at least 3 to 4 hours. No problem if you soak them overnight, and then cook them about 3 hours. White beans, you don't even have to soak if you plan to cook them about an hour and a half. But the picture there is actually the bean foam that will develop as you cook, so you want to scoop that off. And keep an eye on the water level, top it up if you have to. And here's where I have a confession to make. I actually burned my first pot of beans for this particular batch. I left them simmering on the stove with my husband close at hand, and went to work on this presentation. Long story short, he fell asleep. He wasn't feeling his best at the time, and woke up to a smoke-filled kitchen. It was so bad I actually had to throw out the pot. The replacement comes today sometime from good old Amazon. So in a panic, I looked up the fastest way to cook dry beans, and here's the good news. I saved the soup. Yeah, because you make the stock and you add the beans later. So thank heavens for that. So again, I cooked the soy and white beans. Lentils don't need pre-cooking, and edamame needs no cooking virtually at all. So don't mix your beans unless you're buying a mix, and let them figure out what works as far as timing. But the point is, there's always a solution to any disaster in the kitchen. So don't be afraid to experiment. Excuse me, I got to get that.
What's kind of interesting is that I'm having some of Laurie's soup right now, and what I also did, I got some all bran, put it in there, and I'm putting a little bit of non-fat sour cream in there. So I'm experimenting. This is my 3rd bowl, Laurie. So Peter, thank you. All bran adds a nice little crunch to it, a little bit extra fiber. the sour cream is adds a little extra little taste to it, and a little bit more calcium and a little extra protein as well. So you see, you can mix and match. So and I think it's just, I think if you just use real ingredients as much as you can't go wrong. And try different things. And one of the things is that, and to me, one of the things, making bread sounds like a health food, but it really isn't. It's a processed food it's addictive. It's a form of cocaine to me, I think, so to my brain receptors. So maybe we should ban all breads or something. And I that word white bread doesn't exist in my vocabulary. So I try to use, high fiber content and stuff, but we all have to fall off the wagon. And you all have your treats and stuff like that. So take it away, Lori, go ahead.
Okay, doke. So next slide, please. So now it's soup time, and that's really pretty easy. If you've never cooked without oil, and this was a big one for me, like when I first started, it's like, oh no, I never met a jar of olive oil I didn't like. How am I going to survive without it? But it's really, really simple. You just have to keep a close eye on things. Using a non-stick pot or pan helps a lot. And the secret is to let the vegetables come in contact with the surface of the pot. Let them rest. Avoid stirring too often. The goal is to give them time to sit on the hot surface and caramelize. Add a little stock a little at a time, because otherwise you're steaming, not sauteing. And sauteing the spices with the vegetables intensifies their flavor, making the taste profile even deeper. By the way, I'm not a foodie. I'm no one special. I'm not a nutritionist. I'd never make it on MasterChef. I just like to eat good food. So next, you add the cauliflower and kale, then the cooked soybeans, the white beans, the lentil, and the stock. Simmer for about 25 minutes. And now you personally bring the magic. Like, it's, what are you in the mood for? You can find a spice that will match that mood. Yesterday, I was kind of in the Southwestern thing. So I used Tex-Mex for the seasoning. Lastly, in goes the edamame. Less than 5 minutes, you've got soup. And the picture here is just garnished with some fresh parsley from my yard. So,
I have a question. I have a trouble with knowing how much spice to put in. I know I'm not used to adding spices. I'm used to having things plain. So it helps if I have some type of a guideline, like you've got garlic, fresh oregano, and thyme. How much of that do you put in?
So that's all in the recipe.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. Like, you don't have to write anything down. There's Nirme is just going through it. It will actually show you suggestions. And one of the best things, so this recipe is for a bland, no sodium, or minor sodium added soup. You then add whatever flavor profile you like. So yesterday I added Tex-Mex, and for the full batch, I probably used about 5 tablespoons of Tex-Mex. Other times I will go Italian. Other times, depending on what I'm in the mood for, I go heavy on the beets, so it's sweeter. And I will use a tablespoon of sour cream as a creamer. By the way, so being of a European background, we always added a tablespoon of sour cream to the beet soup, right? So it just makes it just a touch creamier. The other thing I do is I sometimes keep the batch basic, and then I just add how much spice I feel like at the moment. So, I've got a pot of the soup in the fridge, but today I go Italian, tomorrow I go Mexican, Wednesday I might go Cajun, right? So it's all as you like it. And then, Wendy, I would start off really mildly, especially if you're trying something new and it happens to be like Cajun, it can have a real kick, right? Like,
Yeah.
and,
So I think that's important, Lori.
sorry?
Just always start with as little spices as possible. You can always add more.
Yeah, exactly. You can put it in, you can't take it out. Although in a pinch, particularly if you get too high on the sodium, throw in some potatoes. Potatoes are really good of absorbing the salt in the water, so it can help save a pot that is too high in sodium. Yeah, just start small, take a, I was going to say take a bite, take a slurp, and then add more as you go, and layer the spices. So maybe a little oregano, maybe a little thyme, maybe a little basil. Maybe if you're new to spices, take some of the mixes, like I say, Cajun or Southwestern, Tex-Mex, or I really like tacos. I think I'm in the mood for tacos. So that's where the Tex-Mex came from yesterday. So that satisfies my craving. So you just do what you feel like, and the chart is at least 6 pages long, so it'll give you some suggestions. Now I did bold the ones that are particularly for soups, so Wendy, that might be a place to start. And
That's great.
we can talk offline,
Yep.
if you've got any other specific questions. So, and I think it was Hank, you were talking about the smoothie. Something to try is actually try putting soy in, cook the soy
Yeah.
until it's kind of mushy, and you
Mhm.
might be able to get the cream that you're looking for, the creaminess that you're looking for in a smoothie that way. Lots of protein without going to a protein powder. Just something to try. I haven't, but I will be. So at a future meeting near me, I'll give you an update. So next slide, please.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Good to meet everyone. I told my wife that I'd be going for a bike ride at 10, so I'm going to leave, and we're going to head out for a bike ride.
Enjoy. It's a
Okay.
beautiful day.
See you again. Bye
Ciao.
now.
Bye-bye, Hank.
Bye.
Okay, so just a quick note on satiety. So soups, we generally think of pureed, creamy soups, stuff like that. So, pureeing makes it creamier, but it's actually the crunch. We've seen that with Dr. Curnew adding his bud flakes. What was it that he added to the soup? Yeah, bran buds, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all bran. So it's the crunch that will, help satiate you. So when you cook your beans, don't overcook them, undercook them, as Nadia would say, al dente, right?
Right.
Don't know if I spelled that right, but spell check didn't correct me. So, and the same with the edamame. Edamame is a bigger bean. It's whole, and it gives you something to crunch. And even with the carrots and the celery, if you undercook them a little, it gives you the crunch. So in the winter, I tend to go thick and hearty. I puree. In the summer, I like it thin and lean, like me. So next page. Knowing that this was being taped and knowing that it was going to a larger audience, I just threw a couple of, came across something that's 7 tips for weight loss psychology. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but a couple of points. Number 1, shake up your routine. As we know, your body adapts, adjusts, and gets bored quickly. So you got to stay ahead of it. as the saying goes, keep them guessing. 2, ditch the diet. Diets don't work. We all know that. It's about a healthy lifestyle. You got to believe it. You got to see yourself living it, and then you got to live it. 3, think thirst before hunger. Interesting factoid. You actually consume 23 calories per day drinking water, but if you, besides your regular water consumption, if you drink 2 glasses of water before each meal, chances are you'll consume 90 calories less per day. And that would translate, depending on which study you use, between 20 and 30 pounds in a year just by drinking water. So I don't know about you, I already drink a lot of water and tea, but that's good reason to make sure I'm drinking it before each meal. So, or, drinking it in your meal, such as soup. 4, be a kid again and play out rather than work out. We all hear it. Find something you enjoy doing and just do it. Next page. 5, change up your environment. Some call it eating clean, and this might be the hardest of all. Think of it as, if it ain't in the house, it ain't in your mouth. 6, visualize yourself. Think of athletes. They visualize themselves at the finish line, so you've got to do the same. Make visualization a habit. It sounds super simple, maybe even silly, but it really does work. Any good athlete will tell you that it works. So, think of, why not try it for 30 days? That's all I'm asking. And then you'll see, if you practice it faithfully for 30 days, you'll see the magic start to happen. Lastly, find yourself an accountability buddy. Dr. C's got plenty of groups to choose from. Maybe connect with someone from one of those groups. You've got the chat, connect with someone who's thinking the same way you do, and together you can exercise maybe together, or share recipes, celebrate successes, commiserate over plateaus, and you can decide between the 2 of you what will push you, what will keep you on track to meet the goals that you've set for yourself. Think of it as buddy motivation can be there for you until you find your own self-motivation. Okay, so remembering that Peter and I are both accountant geeks, we get into the spreadsheets. It's really hard to see here, but you'll see it on the website, and it's in the actual recipe. So the point is that the replacement shake is 225 calories, and this soup works out as presented today to 222 calories. It does provide, can you actually go back to the slide deck? Yeah, and move to the right. Yeah, so there's a point. You will see that some of the values are actually beyond the recommended daily amounts. But because they're natural, they should be no problem. And generally speaking, they won't be a problem. But if you've got a specific issue, if you've got a concern, speak up. When in doubt, speak up and check it out with your friendly neighborhood superhero of a physician or a specialist like Dr. Curnew. So, I think of people like potassium. Are you taking a high blood pressure pill? Or, are you taking banana? So the amounts in this soup, like vitamin C comes out to 800% of the daily requirement. Generally speaking, it's not a problem, but if you've got a specific issue, it might be something to think about. Sugars is another one. They are natural here. You know, nothing added, but if you've got a
Hey, Lori.
stock,
Hey,
yes,
Lori, yeah. Do you freeze your soups?
yes, I do.
Because one of the things, one of the problems I found when I first started eating soups was that you made it and you had to eat the damn thing, you know, 5 times that week or something.
Yeah.
And so that sort of put us off to where we're now making soup once every 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I am a big proponent of batch cooking. So, you know, when I cook, I supersize. So as an example, this batch made 14 servings. Okay, and then now Dr. Curnew will know I took him a big pot actually, since Peter, you go to Costco, it's the tub of potato salad that they make.
Oh,
right?
God, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, and that's probably 5 to 6 servings. My hubby
Nice,
will have it as well. So, and I know I'm more about eating to live rather than living to eat like I used to. So I don't mind eating the same thing, but because I've made it a base and I change up the
Yeah.
spices daily, it doesn't feel repetitive.
Have you ever considered pre-cooking your beans or your lentils and your peas? I mean, I know you can pre-cook those and keep them in the fridge for a week or so that.
Oh, yeah, no, so yeah, you talk about beans. I actually use mixed beans that way. So I will make, like a cup of beans, and boil those. And then I put them into smaller packs, right? So there's always a 2-serving pack in the fridge. So I don't have to worry about them getting stale or going bad. And then I just, I finish one and the next one comes out of the freezer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that my point is that it can't be convenient. You don't have to spend the whole week or a whole day every Wednesday like you do, slave to the stove or something.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but there are things you can do to make things very convenient for you.
Absolutely, that's a big thing. Like, for example, you use frozen fruit, right?
Right.
You take what you need and, you either take once a week, you parse it out into serving sizes, or you just, go into the Costco size, take what you need for a day and, go on. So I will say that this particular soup is very high in fiber. So, you talked about being regular, and those of us of a certain age have to worry about that. But if you haven't had a lot of fiber, I say go slow so that the soup doesn't give you a nasty surprise. It shouldn't, but again, I don't know your specific situation.
Well, just go to the top of the slide over here so you can see the difference between OPTIFAST. You can see, so an OPTIFAST shake is 225 calories. This is roughly the same thing.
Yep.
You get, and I'm thinking, is that 3 or 4 bowls of this soup a day is all that you need, and it's complete nutrients. So you can see
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, there may be a few that you don't get.
So vitamin D, for instance.
You could actually and that's why I've included these vitamins. If you're taking supplements, some of these can get to be too much. And as we all know, it's the supplements to cut out, not something like the soup. Get it naturally, but yes, 4 servings of soup will give you more than 100% of most of the nutrients that you need. That was my goal. That was the assignment as I took it.
Yeah, no, you actually did even better than that, because you actually replaced sodium with potassium, and there's actually good data that lowers your blood pressure, prevents stroke, and fiber content of food. We're all fiber deficient, and usually most of the fiber that we get is some bulking agent. You're actually using real whole food fiber. This is actually, you should patent this and market this and outsell OPTIFAST. And what I do myself is that I just add more water to it, because you mentioned having 2 glasses of water. I just put more water into the soup in there, and it's really fantastic. And so I just had my 3rd bowl this morning. Now, mind you, my bowls are I take half the amount and put a lot more water into them too as well. So
Yeah, so
and I like the crunch and stuff like that. And I took some, some bran buds and just a little sour cream, non-fat sour cream. I feel very satisfied right now.
So an important point, my soups are always thick, so it's not unusual. Wednesdays, I may just make stock. So depending on what's in my fridge, I may just add a bit of stock and to thin it out. So yeah, it's good that you mentioned that you add water to it, because I gave you a thick batch.
And it's delicious. Thank you so much.
So once again, knowing that, you're talking to the accountants in the room, I figured I would totally geek out and cost this out for you. Now I've got my own spreadsheet on that, like Peter. I'm not going to bore you with that, but basically the stock costs all of 32 cents per cup to make. And the soup was a whopping $1.03, and that included 32 cents for the stock. So, figure it out, it's 71 cents more beyond the cost of the soup. So it's heart healthy and wallet healthy. And the prices all came as if I was shopping online at Walmart. The only thing you couldn't get at Walmart would be the soybeans, and that came from the bulk store. And
Are you pricing that as offals or as the ingredients themselves?
sorry?
How did you price the ingredients of for the soup? For instance, the celery root, any leftover celery?
So celery root itself would have been, in essence, garbage. So that doesn't have any cost. Carrots actually get consumed, and I could use them elsewhere. So those got costed out based on the cheapest way to buy them. And Walmart
just pulling your leg, just making sure
I know.
making sure your cost accounting is up to date.
Yes. So 247 is a common price per bag of whatever. So 3 pounds of carrots, 247, figuring that there's 3 to 4 carrots in a pound, so 12 carrots in a bag, and figure out the cost individually per there, and then how many did I use in the recipe. So you don't need the details on all that. I won't bore you with it, but the bottom line is it's a cup of bowl. So where are you gonna get a full nutrient diet if you have 4 servings a day for $4? Or a little less than $5, because you're going to add your own spices. Now, what isn't costed in here is the spices. If you're using, like a Tex-Mex like I did, or you go Italian, or if you take it from your yard. Nadia, I'm going to guess that you have some good herbs in your garden. Yeah. So it all depends, and you can make it thicker, you can make it thinner. You're in the driver's seat. If you can't have sodium, this is very low in sodium, very little added sodium. Any sodium in it is natural, so you control that. I based it on the lowest common denominator. The only thing that I highlighted here was, because this is sugar hour, if you've got, diabetes and concerns with how much sugar you get, 4 times a day, it would be 44 grams of sugar, but it's naturally occurring. It's not added sugar. So the only thing I say is that, it takes touch planning, a pinch of time, but you can multitask, because mainly you're just making sure it doesn't burn like what happened to me. And lastly, last page, please. Yeah, so I'm not the expert. Here are the experts that I use to help me. So supersage.com works great. It works better if you actually give yourself an account, but you don't have to pay for anything. So you just save your recipe. And if you have your own recipe, so Nadia, you, I'm sure, have a lifetime's collection of recipes. You can actually go to Super Sage, put in your particular ingredients of a recipe, and it'll give you the same profile. And then what you do is you've got it saved, and then you say, oh, that's really high in sodium. Let me reduce the sodium. So you edit and you resave it, and you say, oh, that's better, but I haven't got enough. So you reduce it more, and you can play with it. So for me, it was a blinking headache because I was trying to gain here and lose there, and was actually trying to find stuff that would lower the vitamin C, as an example, because leafy green vegetables are high in sugars. And because over 4 servings, it's 800% of the recommended recommended daily amount. So point is, have some fun with it. It does all the calculations. You don't have to geek out like Peter and I do, and it'll help you with that. Satiety comes from Noom. I did get Noom. I really like it. It's got daily articles for you to read, because for me, bottom line is, I knew what I have to do. I just didn't do it. I didn't understand why I wasn't doing it, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing and not doing. So it helped me that way, but I'm not a paid influencer, so I make no money off of suggesting that. And then the weight loss, the 7 points there came from this article I stumbled across. I paraphrased it. If you want to get into the details, you can see the original. And other than that, I say give it a try. Try it. You might like it. You might even become a soup master like me. And the bottom line is, it will be your patented variety, because I can guarantee you, Nadia and I would not make the same soup. We would not use the same ingredients. We certainly wouldn't use the same spices because we come from a different background. And I don't know, you can travel the world with this soup. One day Southwestern, another day Lebanese, another day French, another day Italian. Have fun. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said.
Oh, wonderful, actually. With that
I'm
being
sorry
said,
for reading. I had so much I wanted to say. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
no
You
worries.
did
no
it
worries.
great. We're going to have you back, both you guys, and for updates on this.
For sure.
I'm just gonna make a shake out of her soup.
You actually could.
The bottom line there is to definitely just experiment, right? And to find exactly what works for you.
Yes.
So what we've kind of given to you today is kind of from the book, The 30 Days to a Healthier You, where the goal is on like exercising, but also seeing if liquid fasting, where you stick to things like smoothies and soups, works for you. Definitely, if the book is interested to you, you can buy it from the clinic, and the proceeds go to, I think, Red Cross right now in Ukraine.
Great.
But if that's a cost that won't work for you, if you promise to us that you'll use it, we'll give you the book there. But the goal is to try your best, use it if you can. If you fall off the wagon, that's okay. Try to get back on it. and experiment, and find what works for you.
I can tell you, it certainly worked for me. It gave me the kickstart that I needed. I would humbly suggest that instead of what amounts to the cabbage soup that starts the diet, that you choose this soup. It gives you more of a well-balanced nutrient. But the idea is to shock your system as you start to learn and understand better, and then work on your way. The picture that I reluctantly showed you was 70 pounds ago. I know for health issues that I have, such as arthritis and wanting to delay a hip replacement as long as possible, I need to get to the low end of healthy. So I still got a ways to go, maybe another 70 pounds or thereabouts, but I know I can do it. One last thing I will say, as part of the 11 pages, there is a link to something called a vegan nutrition chart. Again, you don't have to be vegan to benefit from it, but it gives you suggestions on where to get protein, calcium, iron, zinc, and omega-3 fats naturally. So yeah. So just another great source of information. And if I can make one last shameless plug for a website called foodasprevention.com, the resources that you can get there are absolutely mind-blowing. It's kind of like one-stop shop. For recipes, for how to get started on a plant-based, whole food plant-based diet, why you should think that way. Talks about diseases that are impacted by diets. And it's actually run by a doctor, an endocrinologist, who, if you watch any of the cooking club shows, is a frequent participant, and is a friend of Dr. Curnew's, and I think just another great guy to help you on your journey. And if you're like me, you're looking for support anywhere you can get it, and that's another rabbit hole to send you down.
Well, that was just wonderful. Let's tell about the ocean forms.
For sure, yeah. So I hope most of you got the ocean forms. If you haven't, just send me a message and we'll make sure we can put you in the system there to receive one. But this is just a nice way for us to kind of get a report card almost of your health. And what we'll plan to do with this information is to kind of track things and see how things are progressing over a period of time. It'll be really especially great once we can start getting some values and some vital signs and see how those might improve, in your journey as you get healthier.
Yeah, talking as an accountant, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So the ocean form would be a good way to remind you that you actually need to know these numbers. But I will say, and it kind of says it in the email for the link. You want to get all the information ahead of time. So what you might want to do is look at the form, look at what's needed, and then, make some notes, go away, get all those numbers, and then go fill in the form, because it doesn't save anything. So, you can't look at one thing and then go look it up, or it talks about blood pressure. You can't, wait while you take your blood pressure or your blood work, or, so it's things to think about. So, because you know, as an accountant, I have a chart of all my blood work so I can see the trends. And every time I get blood work for whatever doctor, I start, you know, throwing a new column because the new stuff's at the beginning and add it. Most people don't do that. So, you know, I have them readily, you might not have, but you'll know now to keep track of it. And, you know, depending on where you get your blood work, it's easy enough to get them electronically. The joys of technology. Take advantage, take full advantage of whatever's out there for you. That's what'll help you win.
Wonderful. Let's hear
Yes.
about the Facebook group.
Yeah, so speaking of technology, great segue there. We do have a Facebook group, and I think the picture over here is a little bit outdated, but now we're over 140 members. It's a great way to share resources, to learn about new things, and we'll get also like nice daily reminders, especially for any of the events that might be going on. So I know on Tuesdays, the weight loss crew meets, and then we'll have cooking on Sundays usually. So it's just great to be on that group, to one, get all that information, but also just to share your progress and to share what's worked for you and what you've learned in your journey.
Yeah, Peter's great. He posts almost every day, some kind of article, you know, whatever rabbit hole he's been down that day or the previous one. Sometimes he posts pictures of where he's run. So that's great. I'm not as proficient as posting. I will try to get better, you know, as I stumble across things. If anyone suffers from migraines or knows someone who suffers from migraines, I did post a link to my Hamilton migraine support group. And an article about how a smoothie they termed life smoothie worked in a study to eliminate somebody's migraines. I'm working on it, so I'm kind of trying to take that smooth with Peter's suggestions today and what will work for me.
First of all, I want to thank everybody. Lori, Peter, you guys are superstars. Thanks for sharing. We'll post all this information on there. I'll just give Nurme the last little bit here. Trying to keep it people's weekends, cognitive time. Go ahead there,
Yeah.
Nurme. Tell us what else.
Yeah, for sure. No, just wanted to again thank the both of you for coming out here presenting. I know it can be a little scary, but you did a great job, and I'm sure a lot of people will be able to take this information, look at the videos online, where we'll post this on YouTube, and really learn from it. And we'll share the documents and the resources and the recipes as well, so everyone can kind of enjoy the soups. But thank you so much for coming out today, and I think we'll stop the recording here.
And what's the next session again?
The next session will be on July the 2nd.
Okay.
And we're thinking of doing something fitness related, maybe outdoors. But the reminder there is to just, you know, watch our videos 5 minutes a day, learn something, learn a little bit. The next one, we might do something that's a little bit more synchronous, or we might do it where you try to have to be a little bit more active, even through like a Zoom call. So we'll see what we can work with, but it'll be an interesting one for sure.
So create your habits. Go to our YouTube channel. Look at 5 minutes a day. You got to train your mind as a muscle. Change habit. I think Lori's done that. Peter's done that. I'm still working on it. If you're on insulin, there's some information about that. Body mass index is important. Ozempic, other strategies. Last night's video on osteoporosis was really was good. Excellent, actually. And I just want to thank everybody, and we will see you in July, and we'll be on YouTube, on Facebook. Get healthy and get other people to be healthy as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.